This is All About Home Construction, and here's your hosts, Terry Cannell Beck and Randy Blake.
That's right. Good morning, Randy Blake.
Good morning, Terry, and everybody out there.
That's right. All About Home Construction. Thanks for listening to us. Happy. Yeah. What's going on, man? How you been?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Living the dream, buddy.
School's about over, isn't it?
One more week with the kids. Yeah. We're wrapping things up. It's been a crazy time of year. So yeah, it's summer's about to start. You know, some people say Memorial Day is summer, but around the high country,
Well, you know, it used to be because I remember going to the beach in Memorial Day when I was a youngin', and it'd be quite hot.
No, it's here in the high country. Summer starts a few weeks later, but
boys, this rain's been nice.
Mm-hmm. It really has, you know, because we've had some good days where it's like steady, you know, on and off rains, which has been good. It's not a lot of like just hard rains that run off, and it's been good. It's been good.
Well, my uncle said he mowed the yard, and it was still just as dry as it was.
I believe that. Yeah, it's just been so dry. I mean, I noticed that North Carolina put the high country. They back them up. I always forget what the scale is, but like not the most severe drought, but the next to most. Like in other words, we've gotten one notch better. So
well, I'm looking at the map now for it to come up.
But yeah, it's good. It's good.
Well, they still got Watauga in extreme drought, 36.6%.
Yeah. So
and but you know what? I'm looking down at my mom's properties in Brunswick County.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look on the map, Brunswick, not quite half, but a third of Brunswick County and the next county beside it is under extreme just like we are.
Right.
And when I went down last year, there was rain on both sides. I don't know what it is about that area in North Carolina, but each side of that band, they had rain. And then that one, like, let's say 20-mile section, the corn leaves were standing straight up and dying.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being 7 foot tall, they was only 3 foot tall.
Yeah, it's just the way the weather hits. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Which we see that. How many times here in the mountains do you see like one side of the mountain gets wet and the other side doesn't?
Yeah, the other day we was having a good rain at the house, and Taz posted, "No rain at my house." I said, "Well, I'm glad we got it all at mine."
Yeah.
Well, make hay a little short this year.
I worry about the hay, you know, I really do, because you see a lot, and a lot of people in the region, this first cutting is just so small.
Yeah.
So
people's already starting to cut.
Yeah.
I'm waiting on to see when the weather lies to us.
Yeah. But no, it's been an interesting year. A little cooler, but then we get some hot days. I don't understand it. It's like one day I'm burning up, one day I'm cool. So.
Yeah, well, that's just Mother Nature.
Can't control it. So, but no. Anyway, enough about the weather. All about home construction here. Thanks for everybody listening to us. And yeah, you know, I was going to tell you my brother told me a funny story the other day in High Point about his neighbor painting his driveway with like latex paint. So I was like, well, I have to tell Randy that one.
Well,
that's a no-no for all of you out there listening.
Well, the good thing about it is it'll wash off. Yeah. And there is some VOCs in latex.
Right. But latex does not like concrete or asphalt.
No, it does not.
And I just thought that was kind of funny. So,
yeah.
So don't do that. But you know, they do. I mean, they do make stains. I'm not talking about a stain. I'm talking about like paint just doesn't. Especially when you drive over it. It doesn't last very long. Because, you know, those concrete, like the garage paints, you know, and all, like those are not the same type of paint. There's different types of paint.
No, they're epoxy.
Yeah.
But there's a process to do that. I actually been on a warehouse resurfacing it one time and contacted a company to come give me an estimate out of Charlotte. And you know, one of the things that they had to do was they had to go in. One part of their estimate was anywhere that there was a crack in the floor, they had to go and saw that crack.
Mm-hmm.
and get the debris out. Then they had to put a machine on it and sand all the floors.
I was wondering that, like you got to grind them down.
Yeah, it's not a big process, but it is. They have to sand it to get the impurities off the top of it. Now, some of them, like the concrete, had to be etched with a certain chemical to get what was in it.
So I remember back in the day doing, when I was younger, teenage years and stuff, doing decorative concrete. We used, and I want to say it was muriatic acid.
Yeah, you can.
But like I remember going in and spraying that, and then coming back and pressure washing it off before we stained.
Yes.
And of course, again, that's the first time we had used that concrete. I'd never messed with concrete stain. I didn't know there was a difference. I mean, I'm 18 years old at the time, and but yeah, that concrete stain. But that stuff looks cool, when it's done right, because you can do it on, and especially if you do it on like a finished floor, like a basement or something. Mm-hmm. Concrete's going to have different colors in it anyway. If you ever look at concrete when it dries, it
that's the reason you can't match it.
Yeah. And so when you stain it, it gives you like this, almost like this marbled look, even though you stain it. Most of the concrete, if you get a real concrete stain, it's kind of like a wood stain in that you see the grains of the wood, so you can see that, and it's like a marbled look, and then you go back over it with a clear coat, and it pops. And it's beautiful basements,
yeah,
or whatever floors. Those
are epoxy paints.
A lot of your retail stores are going more and more to that. If you notice, a lot of your big box stores even are pulling out tile and going back and staining concrete, going back.
Less maintenance.
Yep. And it looks cool if you do it right. So.
Well, it does. It's a little more expensive than tile, but the thing about it is, I think the longevity's there.
The longevity's there, and honestly, though, from a new construction point, when you don't have tile on, you've already got the concrete there. If you do it right the first time, just cheaper, I think. I don't know.
I think for the long run. Has anybody out there done their floors? Let us know.
Yeah, I'm curious on that. But it seems to me that you can buy you get new concrete before it gets marred up and dirtied, going in and going ahead and staining it. And then, like I said, hit them with that clear, whatever it is, epoxy coat, whatever it is. Clear. It was called Seal Coat when I worked with it, the stuff they used. But that brand doesn't even, that manufacturing company doesn't even exist anymore, I don't think. Increte? I don't know. I think.
What is it now?
Increte was the brand that we were using years ago. Like I said, this is the early 90s. Decorative. Maybe they do. I don't know. I'm going to look it up here.
Well, I know I'm trying to.
Yeah, there's still a website. There you go. But no, that was cool. That was back in the day when I was doing that, early 2000s with my uncles. That was fun. And of course, they do decorative. There's stains, but then if you can mix in powders and stuff and color it when you're pouring it and that kind of stuff. There's all sorts of cool stuff. But anyway, didn't mean to get off on concrete this morning. But I say all that to say, do not paint with regular paint
not at all.
Your driveways.
I've never tried the Lowe's brand epoxy, and supposedly they got a pretty good review on it. Mm-hmm. But the biggest thing is your prep. If you don't prep that proper, if you cut corners.
But isn't that the case with all paint, whether you're talking about concrete or even drywall?
Yeah.
I mean, how many times you don't prep it right? For instance, like bathrooms. Yes, I know paints. You can buy paints with primer in it, but if you're going to do a bathroom, you really need to do a primer first and then paint it, because you're going to get so much moisture, it's going to peel off.
Well,
and so
really
again, it goes back to that prep, right?
Yes, it does. And first off, if you got, you can actually paint tile.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I remember Sherwin-Williams come out with a paint for tile. But I think the biggest thing about that paint is you have to make sure that your grout is sealed proper.
Makes sense, yeah.
Because, grout is waterproof,
Mm-hmm.
or not waterproof. Tile's waterproof, grout's not. Moisture can seep through it. So if you, just like it used to be, there was no backer board, okay? And so everybody put their tile on drywall. Well, it does last as long as you keep your tile sealed around the grout.
Right.
Once your grout line starts to crack, then your moisture goes to your drywall. That's where your rot starts, and that's where your moisture's got. You're actually, remember we've had on certain shows we've talked about people not insulating their bathroom walls.
Yeah.
Well, the bathroom walls behind the tiles cold, showers warm,
And it
you get
condensates.
condensate.
Yeah. And then you get mold. Yeah. So, well, the problem with tile, like, so the house we have now is when we moved in, the all of the kitchen counters are tile. Where they've laid tile as the countertops, and it's starting to. I didn't do it, but I'm pretty sure it's just laying right on top of the plywood, just glued and
Well,
down
it
to
could
the
be
plywood.
1/4 inch backer board on.
I'm not sure. The way looking underneath the cabinets and stuff and seeing the thickness, I don't see how it could be. I may be wrong, but anyway, I worry, but like I said, I'm not a fan of it. It looks good. I mean, it's clean. It looks clean. It's just not my favorite. And so one day I want to replace it.
Well,
So.
I guess you'll find out when you take it up.
Oh, I know. There's a couple tiles that's been cracked through the years, and they're still solid. They're still in place, but you can't match one tile like you think you can.
No, you cannot.
It may be white, but I promise you, it's not going to be the same as what I
like
get.
we talked about concrete.
Yeah. Right. Again, going through the Facebook, the other day I saw something that somebody was complaining because they had some kind of water leak or something, and they had to cut a hole in their garage and went back and it didn't match up, and they were complaining because it looked terrible. I'm like, dude, you can't match it.
No, you cannot. That brings up a interesting story. Insurance claims.
Mm-hmm.
Insurance claims, if you have a problem in your house, let's say you have water run down the wall, they will grant you the money to paint that one wall, but they will not grant you the money to blend the whole living room in.
Yep.
You can do the ceiling. You have no choice there.
Yeah.
I actually seen a insurance company the other day because they had the walk pass through from the living room to the kitchen didn't have a header in it, but they stopped the paint in the living room and didn't go ahead and go into the kitchen. So here you are, two different colors now.
Yeah.
What kind of insurance companies we got out there?
Well, I like watching these, again, going back to videos where it's like the insurance, like I was watching one where the guy was repairing some shingles on a roof, and he's like, well, the insurance guy said you can just repair these, and replace these shingles, and it's a video of him showing, like, doing what they said, and he's like, oh, look, by doing this, I just messed this one up above it. Oh, look, I just messed this one up.
Well, that's because of fiberglass shingles.
Right.
With asphalt shingles, you can replace them.
Yeah, and that's what he was saying. He was like, you guys are crazy, essentially. But
Well, I've seen them replace half a roof. Not a whole roof, just half. But they didn't want to cover a replacement of ridge cap.
So you're doing the whole half the roof, but the old ridge cap.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand these adjusters.
Yeah. Well, it's part of it. I think sometimes is because they don't know the construction themselves. It's kind of like how many times have you met an inspector that knows what book wise, knows their stuff, but you can tell they've never picked up a hammer.
Well, I truly believe there shouldn't be an inspector out there that hadn't been a licensed entity before.
Yeah. You gotta know the trade more than just. I mean, anybody can read a book, right?
Yep.
All right, we'll take a break, then we'll get into our actual topic. Thanks for listening to us.
Calling all hungry heroes. It's time to fuel up for the day at the VFW's all-you-can-eat breakfast. That's right. Every first Saturday of the month from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., you can enjoy a heaping helping of crispy bacon, juicy sausage, perfectly cooked eggs, golden hash browns, biscuits and gravy, and so much more, only for $15. Whether you're a veteran, a family member, or just a friend of the VFW, you're welcome to join us for this delicious tradition. Come share stories, laughter, and good company while you fill your plate with all your breakfast favorites. Don't miss out on the VFW's all-you-can-eat breakfast every first Saturday of the month from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. See you there.
That's right, all about home construction. Thanks for listening to us. Yeah. All right, Randy, should we get into our topic today?
Yeah.
I think we should.
Can I thank everybody for coming out for the meal?
That's right, yes.
We did right at 60 meals. Thank everybody for coming out.
That's cool. Good turnout then.
And I'd like to thank everybody coming out for Memorial Day. I know that they had a service uptown, but we had the biggest Memorial Day at the VFW since I've been a member.
That's awesome.
And they wasn't one of them guys from the MOOA show up at our memorial while they did their little memorial downtown.
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome. Well, good. I'm glad you guys had a good turnout. That's
we
awesome.
did, and great help. Everything went good. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Watauga County.
That's awesome. Well, good stuff. So, yeah, glad to hear that. Well, cool. Well, let's jump into the topic, and this is one that it's funny. Randy gets excited about this one. He starts talking about stuff, and he gets into his charts over here.
Yeah, I'm a chart man.
He's a little geek over here.
I was telling Terry, I belong to several groups on Facebook on framing and stuff like that, and some of them's pretty legitimate. Mm-hmm. There's one of them, I sure would like to be able to get him to call in because he's a building inspector out west.
That's cool.
And he goes through and points out flaws and stuff. And but a lot of times it's amazing that people think, how many people are carpenters out there? And everybody raises their hand up. Then the next thing you say is, how many of y'all can cut rafters? And a few of them raise their hand up. And then you say, how many can cut stairs?
Yeah.
All right, now, maybe out of 30 people, they won't be but 4 people that really can cut stairs and figure them out.
Right.
You know, so a carpenter has to be able to figure stairs, figure rafters, and stuff like that.
Sure. Yep.
And there's more to it than just, well, I'm gonna make my stairs 7 1/16. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when we built that cabin down in Burke County, my stairs in that house worked out to be 7 11/16.
Okay.
So when starting from the top floor all the way down to the first floor was 7 11/16.
Right.
When we went outside, my steps going from my house was 7 11/16. And then going to the ground was 7 11/16.
Okay.
Most people don't realize that stairs are one of the most dangerous parts of your house that you can have.
Oh, yeah. Well, because we don't realize, like, if you ever walk upstairs and don't pay attention, like, don't look at it, right? Like, your body gets used to whatever that width is and height is.
PBS put a special out, and they used the stairs in London, England, going to the subway. There was one step that was a 1/4 inch higher than all the rest of them, and it was in the middle. And about 40% of the people that walked up that step
trips.
Yeah, until they realized that it was higher. And I even do it in my addition because I set my addition up for hardwood flooring.
Yeah.
And then my wife wanted carpet. Yeah. So there's a lot of times I'll drag my toe on the first step. I mean, it's just 2 steps.
Right, but
But the point of it is I've even watched my grandyoungins trip, you know, and they're light on their feet.
Yep.
And but getting back to these people doing these jobs, I'm watching them frame decks up, okay? And we're seeing a lot of decks with single bands. Mm-hmm. All right, and I was telling Terry that one guy says, Well, let me show you how to correctly frame a deck up. And he put a single deck on it, but he broke his band in between the floor joists and he put a blocking behind it.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Well, that's great if that's what you feel. But when you put a railing on that thing and you build that deck and you don't put any joist hangers on it, code calls for you that deck has to hold 200 pounds leaned up against it.
Yep.
All right? So if you got a single band with let's say, I hadn't used a 4x4 post on a deck
Right.
since I started my business in 1987.
Yeah.
I'll use a 6x6.
Right.
And cut it and leave so much meat in it. And then that way, so you lean across it, it don't move.
See, that's the thing, like 4x4 post, you see a lot of decks that use them, and but it's just it's not sufficient. I mean, even for a short deck, a lot of times a 4x4 is not gonna it's not gonna be stout enough, right?
Yeah. Well, it depends. If you got a deck that's 1 foot off the ground,
Mm-hmm.
and you can use a 4x4, as long as it don't have a large span.
Right.
But with the way the treated lumber is today, why would you want to put a post in the ground it's going to rot out in 8 years?
Exactly.
You got to take your deck apart.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, and that's the problem, right? Is because most bigger's not always better. I know that, but most when it comes to framing, and especially decking and framing, proper size and proper connections are what make or break the
whole
deck or the
whole
project. Yeah.
And which you're seeing more and more people using screws.
Yeah.
I still like to use double dip galvanized nails, 16 nails, not gun nails, 16 nails that you drive in by hand.
Yeah.
They have a tendency not to pull out.
Right.
But you still have to put your joist hangers on there. And I am a big fan of joist hanger screws.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they do cost more, but the point of it is they hold better. And there's a lot of people don't even know how to install the right fastener in a joist hanger.
Yeah.
And you can use a number 9 nail, number 10 nail, specifically made by Simpson for it. And then the Simpson makes a special screw that you can use in them.
Okay.
But there's a difference. You have to change screws if it's a hanger that's a skewed hanger. What I mean, not necessarily a skewed. Skewed means that it's at an angle, like a 22-degree angle, 45-degree angle. But there is a hanger that is a 90-degree hanger that goes on your floor joist that has the nail holes or screw holes that are set at a 45-degree angle.
Okay.
All right. Now, that does not take the same screw that you screw into the band of the house.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, see, that screw's a little longer because that screw is set at an angle to 45 degree to penetrate the floor joist in the middle of the floor joist and go into the band of the house.
Right.
All right. If it's a flat, then you screw it in the side and use the short nails, short screws.
Okay.
So pay attention to your hangers when you buy them, because if you have the ones with the angle holes in them, you got to buy another screw.
Makes sense though. You got to get a longer for the angle.
Yeah, and so.
Well, but how many times talking about hangers, how many times have you seen it where they put a hanger in, and because they've got the hanger there, they don't care if that the joist that sets in it is quarter inch too short or half inch too short, right?
Yeah.
Because it sets in the hanger.
Well, the code says it has to have 1.5 inch bearing.
Mm-hmm.
And
because it wasn't that long ago we didn't even use hangers. I mean, and I guess code now pretty much requires it everywhere.
No, you can still use a ledger.
Okay. But
the thing about a ledger is if you cut an 1.5 inch notch out for your ledger, then now let's say you go from a 2x10 and put 1.5 inch ledger on it.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're not using a 2x10. Now you're only using a 2x8.
Yep.
Because it drops to the next size. So then you got to look at your span chart and see what it costs.
Right. Right.
A standard joist hanger screw is 1.5 inches. Okay. So a 1 pound box is $16. A number 9 is $16.30.
Okay.
A number 10 is $19.28. It's a little stronger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then if you have to use the angles number 9s, and which you can use the number 9s, is 2137 because they're 2.5 inches long, so they make sure they go in an angle and tie into your band.
Okay.
All right. Then if you go to a number 10, it's 2448.
You're really jumping up.
So let me ask you a question. If you're going to build this deck and you're going to build it and your family's going to be on it, do you not want to go a little better?
Right. And then that's my thing is, like I said, I've got a big family, and we know that we're going to be out on the deck, and there's going to be a lot of us out on the deck, right? And that's sort of the struggle that I have is like, I don't want to overbuild because, I mean, I am cheap, like I am poor. I want to stick with a budget, but at the same time, like, what is that? How do you judge that with, like, being cost effective, being on a budget, but doing it right? Where do you cut corners to save money, but at the same time, like, I don't want to cut a corner in my deck fall.
Well, then the moral of the story is to go back to joist hanger nails.
Yeah.
1.5 inch screw will cost you 19 cents a screw.
Okay.
All right. And if it depends on a 2x4 joist hanger takes 4.
All right.
See, so you're already, 34 cents per, or not 34 cents, 38 cents per side.
Yep.
On it, and that's not counting the others.
Right. And that's the thing. How many times do you see the right screw or the right screws or nails and the right hanger, but they are only putting a couple nails in a hanger?
Well, then it's useless because it's not holding what it's made to hold.
Exactly. Yeah.
And most people don't think about it, but that's just the way it is.
So
now, a homeowner is not held to the standards a contractor is.
Sure.
Our warranty, even though the state says once the state inspector comes and passes your house, you no longer have a warrant. You don't have to honor any warranty because it's honored by the state.
Right.
No, it's not. The law of repose says that hanger's got to hold for 6 years.
Yep.
So.
But me as a homeowner, I mean, honestly, I can build it however I want, and it's up to the buyer, I guess, the next time around.
Yeah. So to give you an idea, joist hanger nails versus screws, a joist hanger nail is 4 cents a piece. So that's a lot of savings.
It's a huge difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can hammer in a nail pretty quick.
Well, you can.
Doesn't save me any time.
And
No,
it don't save you time.
Yeah.
That's the reason people use screws because it saves them time.
Yeah.
How many people out there put their joist hangers on before they put their floor joists on?
Yeah.
Well, then next thing you know, you go to the job and you see where they sawed the bottom of the joist off, or they took a wedge and put in it because the floor joist, they had to raise the floor joist up to the top of the band. Mm-hmm. Instead of taking a few minutes. Yeah, I'm watching these people on the internet. Now they make a steel bracket that you can buy for 50 cents a piece that you screw on top of your floor joist. So it rests on top of it so you can put your hanger on at the right height.
That's kind of neat.
It is, but it all is time.
Yeah.
So if it takes you, let's say, 3 minutes to do a hanger, now this is hypothetical, but you're doing a 16-foot band.
Right.
You're putting the hanger on. You're putting that bracket on one side. You got to walk 16 foot and put the hanger on the other side. All right. Then you got to come back or put that joist hanger on that side. Then go back and put that on.
Oh yeah.
So 3 minutes won't cover putting that bracket on in that 16-foot span. See what I'm getting at?
Yep.
So that's going to raise your cost.
Yep.
And a good way to take care of that is get you some 8-penny galvanized, and you can nail your floor joist on from the top. Then you can put your hanger on.
Then put the hanger on. All right. There you go. There's your tip for the day. Because I would have put the hanger on and then wedged it up. Thanks for listening to us. We'll be right back. Are you looking for a sawmill dealership that can provide you with the quality equipment you need to get the job done? Look no further than Blue Ridge Sawmills. We offer the full line of Hudson sawmills and sawmilling equipment, from portable sawmills to skidding winches. At Blue Ridge Sawmills, we understand that every project is different, which is why we offer a wide range of sawmilling services. We can help you from everything from finding the right mill for your farm, hobby, or even your business. We also offer a variety of sawmilling supplies such as blades and debarkers, so you can get everything you need in one place. If you're looking for a sawmill dealership that can provide you with the quality equipment and the service you need, then come to Blue Ridge Sawmills. We're here to help you get the job done. Call or visit our Cana, Virginia store at 276-755-3833 or our Asheboro, North Carolina location at 336-964-8304. There you go. All about home construction. Thanks for listening to us. Nice.
Yes, it is.
So, all right, Randy, we've talked a little bit about, framing and stuff, but what are the biggest things when it comes to framing? And this goes for decks. This goes for, inside your joists and stuff is the spans, floor spans or joist spans, I guess you'd say. Because there's a lot that goes into it. It's not just the size of the lumber. It's the species of the lumber. It's the spacing of the lumber, and it's the grade of the lumber too. So not all white pine even is the same, right?
It is correct, and that's one thing you can download on the internet. You can look it up. Like here, I'm looking at a floor joist table. Now this one here is Southern Forest Product Association, and it has all the grade marks on it and show you. And a lot of the lumber that you buy out of Home Depot, Lowe's, local building supplies and stuff is a number 2.
Right.
Generally a number 1 you have to special order. All right. So to give you an idea, you got a 30 or 40 pound square foot live load with a 10 pound dead load. Your 10 pound dead load is the weight of material and could be your furniture and stuff like that. Live load would be your furniture. But let's say you want to use 2x6s. All right. So, and you got guys out there that will do 16-inch centers. You got guys that will not do 19 and 3/16, but they don't generally list 19 and 3/16, and then they go to 24-inch center.
Right.
But let's say we're going to go to a 30-pound live load with a 2x6 in the floor, and the maximum span is 10 foot 3 inches.
Okay.
All right. Now that's with a 30-pound live load. With a 40-pound live load, it drops to 9 foot 4 inches. Okay. And so let's go on down to a floor joist, and and the load is 1650 a foot. All right. So going back to a 2x6. 10.6, a 30-pound live load to a 40-pound live load is 9 foot 6. See, so it's only just a little. It doesn't change much, but it will a little. And I'm trying to get on down in here to heavier loads.
So when does the space require different live load calculations?
It does.
Because so the live load is essentially stuff that move, right? People.
Yeah.
Furniture, if you're talking about decks, like maybe grills, things like that, right? But like a hot tub would be considered a dead load because you can't move that. Is that?
Yeah, but basically what the weight of the floor and stuff like that, the furniture.
Right. So yeah, so like your stoves and your counters and stuff would be dead load inside.
Yeah.
Instead, okay.
But most of your dead load is like in the kitchen is around the band.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, usually, yeah.
And
your fridge and stuff like that, because it's usually on the walls, right?
Yeah.
So when you think about that though, like, how many? What is it like? 40, 50 pounds of, I guess it goes by a foot.
Square foot.
Is that about right? Like you figure 40, 50 pounds per square foot? Is that, I've seen that number. I don't know if that's code or if
like
that's.
here, I'm looking at a table here for southern yellow pine. Okay, now yellow pine is not as strong as it used to be.
Right.
So they're using a 40-pound live load versus a 10-pound dead load with a L360 deflection.
Okay.
And the number 2 2 6 can only span 9'4" is the maximum span it can span.
Okay.
All right.
So you're not even getting a full 10 feet.
Yeah, and there's people out there that would run that 10 foot,
Right.
but
Well, there's a lot of people that's like, oh, that's close enough, or oh, we've always ran, we've always done a 2x8, 12 foot long here, that kind of thing, and instead of looking at the chart.
That's right, and the charts there, and everybody can look at the chart,
Yeah.
and it takes a little bit to go through it, but you can look at it and see what you need to do. And even that there's charts out there for ceiling joists, and there's charts out there for rafters. And like I was telling Terry, if you're going to use your ceiling joists to hold your insulation,
Yeah.
all right, then your ceiling joists can be taller, but your rafters can be smaller.
Yeah.
Because if you want to do a cathedral ceiling, you have to use a tube 12
Right.
to get your insulation, and you have to use R38 or use R30C, which bad insulation, or get a company to come in that does foam and tell you what their R value is, and then you can size your rafters to fit the insulation.
Right. Right.
But then there is another alternative to that, or not alternative, but there is another thing is that, let's say you want to foam your rafters.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can't foam a 2x8 30 foot long.
Yeah.
See what I'm getting at?
Yeah. Right. Well, yes, and but so okay. So you mentioned rafters though. Span is different in a floor joist than it is in a rafter.
That's right.
And I know a lot of times if the uneducated look at them and they think they're the same, but they're completely different, and that's why you have problems when you go to attics and suddenly turn the attic into a bedroom or even just a storage room, right?
Yeah.
Is that sometimes it depends on how the house is built, but especially if it's a truss, right? You really can't put live or dead loads onto those.
Well, they're actually considered live loads on them.
Okay.
All right. Now let's a 10-pound live load ceiling joist drywall ceiling. Okay. You can actually take a 2 by 6 with a 10-pound live load and span 16 foot 11 inches.
Okay. But a 10-pound live load is not very much, right?
No, it's not. That's just all that is insulation drywall, nothing else.
Yeah.
There can't be nothing on top of it.
Right. So if I go into the attic and I've now stored all my Christmas decorations up there.
Yeah, then you're going to get sagging, okay?
Yeah.
But now let's take that same 2 by 6 on 16-inch centers and put a 20-pound live load on it. The maximum span is only 12 feet.
Mm. So you're dope, yeah.
So see, just adding that other 10-pound dropped you 4 foot 11 inches.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what these charts are made for.
Right.
And another thing, too, is let's talk about this ceiling joist that's 16 foot 11 inches long.
Mm-hmm.
That thing's going to be like a ribbon until you get it all laid out and get your drywall on it and stuff.
Yeah.
And you need to pay attention. Now, I know you've heard the old timers say, well, you've got to put a hog trough in there.
Right.
Well, that hog trough, most people don't. It's just 2x4 laid on flat, and then whatever you want to lay on the side, and what that does is hold everything even.
Okay.
And then what we used to do is, and I still do it if it's that type system, is we'll use that hog trough to hold our boards that goes up to our rafters, so we've actually made a truss out of it.
Right.
So that long span now is taken care of, and it's no longer a ribbon. It's helped by the roof and by the hog trough. To give you an idea, we did Kendall's house. Now, this house was built between 1825 and 1850. And because the house rolled from one end to the other at 3 inches at the high point and 3
Wow.
inches at the low point. So we had to go in with 2x10s and put in there. And because the span between the walls was so long that a 2x4 and a 2x6 wouldn't hold it, it was sagging.
Right. Right.
So I did the way my daddy taught me, but I had to go back and take that 2x6 off, and we had to put a 2x12 on it to keep it from sagging.
Sagging. Yep. Yep.
So just because it says that you don't, just because you taught one way, you still learn, and you have to be able to correct it.
That's the key. Yeah. And and again, like I mean, and then again, we throw a wrench into it, and like all lumber's not the same as it used to be.
No, it's not.
So.
It's grown faster.
Yeah. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Obviously, by listening to this podcast, you see the value of All About Home Construction. Well, by joining our listener supporter community, you're not just tuning in, you're standing with us as we are able to support and fuel our passions of the construction industry. As a listener supporter, you'll enjoy exclusive perks, including hearing your name, or maybe even your business name, on our show. So please go to our Spotify website. The link will be in the show notes, and join. You can join for as little as $1 one-time fee, $1 a month, $5 a month, whatever you think you can afford. Every single penny helps to keep this show going as we can continue to grow and do lots more things. Thanks a lot. And again, more importantly, thank you for listening to this. That's right. All About Home Construction. Talking a little bit about framing and span charts and all the fun stuff here.
Yes, it is.
Oh, wow.
And while we were off the air, we were looking at the southern yellow pine and the west coast spruce have all been genetically altered to grow faster. Because I was telling Terry, when I was 40, I was out in northern Idaho and looking at a 60-foot white pine tree that was only about 6-8 inches at the base.
That's crazy.
Fast growing, straight growing, but because of the genetically altered southern yellow pine, spruce is actually stronger now than yellow pine.
Right. Well, okay, so that's you brought up a good point there. So when we, growing up, always like if you don't know much about building, you think, like oak is the strongest wood, things like that. Like, but we don't use, for instance, oak joists. We don't have oak floor joists really.
Well, we can't afford it.
Right.
First
Well,
off,
that's fair, but
there's the oak doesn't deflect.
Yeah, that's where I'm going with this. Is like, okay, perfect example, right? We live here in the mountains, and you find a house that was built early 1900s, late 1800s, right? And I mean, there's some out there that have like chestnut, but 2x8s or whatever, right, as the joist, and again, being the floor guy, like I've sanded those floors, and you can see and feel the difference. Versus a modern build, if you will, right, out of some kind of pine, because just because it's a stronger wood, right, doesn't mean it deflects different. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, chestnut was used a lot in the mines, and the reason it was the number one material, first off, it didn't rot, and it didn't give. And I remember my dad talking about when he was a kid cutting timber for the mines, and chestnut was cut primarily for openings, going back into mines where they had to do heavy loads. But when they got back into areas that they knew that they were only going to go so far, then they used poplar.
Because it was lighter and easier.
And that they knew over time that the poplar would rot, and that would cause it to cave in and seal up the mine for itself. Nobody can go back in there and get hurt. That's what he said. So
that makes sense. But I mean, again, that's a big chunk of why for building, framing, joists, and all that, we're using some type of pine typically.
Yeah, well, it's a faster grown material. Yeah. It's more abundant than hardwoods, because if you notice, they'll go in and cut a boundary of hardwoods out. The first thing comes back, softwoods, pines, poplars, stuff like that. They go in and cut the pines and the poplars out, and the hardwoods come back.
Yeah.
So it's a cycle. We're in a 30 to 40-year cycle in our timber.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's not for southern yellow pines on a 24-year cycle, and maybe a little longer. Depends on if the type of timber that
Right.
that they're looking at for telephone poles. So you've seen the massive telephone poles. It's,
Yep.
probably the biggest. All telephone poles now are turned.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see the lay that they turn them
Right.
on. But I got to go down to the East Coast. I don't know, back around 2011 or 12, and go down to a treatment plant to get Pacific 8 baits for a bridge there at Broadstone.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only place we could get them. And the treatment was totally different, and that's where they're treated telephone poles.
That's cool.
And that treated material was dark green. It wasn't like the
Right.
light green we find
That
in
you
the
find
building
it, yeah.
supplies.
Yeah, something definitely different. Well, and that's the cool thing about it is knowing the species of wood, because you run into that. I say we don't use a lot of hardwoods, but especially in timber framing, right? If it's seen, there's a lot of times that you are using various woods, and
Well, if we're going to use timber frame, 90% of the time it's going to be fir.
yeah. But again, and knowing that what species of wood it is, it changes the deflection, therefore changes the span.
It is, and
the size you use.
I have two different charts on my computer that I've been looking at. One is the southern yellow pine chart, and the other one is the spruce chart.
Yeah.
New River Building Supply does carry yellow pine. They also carry spruce. Most framing from Home Depot and Lowe's is yellow pine.
Yellow. Yeah.
A lot of the 2x4s are yellow pine. I prefer not to use the yellow pine because I've watched it tie itself in a knot from the sun.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah.
That was the biggest problem when they started during the housing crunch trying to use yellow pine 2x4s because, wow, they were cheap. But could you afford to put them in your wall and then they bow in the wall?
Yeah.
If you didn't get your plywood up fast enough.
I can remember a log house once where they had accidentally mixed a yellow pine in one of the logs, and when you put it up, it looked fine, and it was like, I think when they said it was like a year or two later. I mean, it's like 6 or 8 inches out, bowed out.
But yeah,
Didn't
put enough fasteners in it to hold it in, or.
But it's just the fact that it was that one yellow log,
That's something you want when you do your log cabin, doing your, putting your ollie screws in. Don't cut corners and put them too far apart.
Right.
Because I know how many cabins you go in and see where the log is twisted over.
Yep.
And now that log is holding water.
Right. Well, that's the thing. But because wood likes to move, right? I mean, we forget that wood is a living product, and even when you cut it down, it still was a living product, right? And by nature, it wants to grow and move, and think that's why moisture affects wood. You don't think it does, and go open a door on a wet day versus an outside door on a wet day versus a dry day. I mean, you can see the difference sometimes. In just the way the moisture soaks up into the sponge of the wood, and but wood naturally wants to move, and that's why when you're drying out wood, you can see it twist and turn and bow, and that's that's the problem with it.
Well, it's part of it. That's just, had a guy call me the other day, and he's talking about his floors, and he's going, my floor's squeaking. And I said, well, I can't really help you there. And I said, did they put felt under your floor?
Right.
He said, when you walk across my floor in the basement, across the plywood where the cracks are, I have dust that comes out. And I said, what sounds like to me that they did not first off, didn't sweep the plywood before they put the floor down, and they did not put any vapor barrier under it. Well, what am I going to do? I said, you either got to remove it or live with it.
Yeah. I mean, there's no way to go underneath it now, right?
Yeah. It's just people cutting corners trying to save a dime.
Right.
And you put it like this: if you want to save $1, you're going to get less than $1 for your quality of work.
Right. Yep. That's it. So, well, man, it's been fun. And
the dinner this month is Italian.
Sweet. Do we have a date?
Yeah, the 20th.
Okay.
I believe so. Yep, 20th.
All right.
And the test run will be tomorrow at the VFW.
All right. Sweet. So stay tuned. Next week we'll let you know more details.
From the Rock and Roll Kitchen.
Rock and Roll Italian Kitchen. Thanks for listening to us. Take it easy. We'll see you next time.
Bye.